Hello.
If you ingest food that's contaminated with tapeworm eggs, over time, they can eventually hatch into your intestines. Once inside, they use their hook-like mouth to latch onto your intestinal wall. Then they absorb your nutrients that pass through the digestive system, causing them to grow. As the tapeworm matures, it can reach lengths of up to several feet while living inside of you. And without treatment, these worms can live for several years inside a human host. If you ingest food that's contaminated,
Tell me again what you found.
I found a guy that really likes ketchup.
You want some ketchup for that?
Nah, I'm good.
Oh man, I'll just put it back in the fridge.
I'll take some ketchup.
All right, the humans have left the room.
After many years, this chimp was reunited with his old caretakers.
Okay, so.
I show he needs to lift weights. From what we've seen of him, he hasn't been too great. Well, actually, he's been f***ing But in his recent picture, you can see how crazy his shoulder genetics are. Like, they have insane size and fullness when he's never lifted for real yet. I bet he'd have a better physique than me in 1 year of training. So let's get Speed to do athletic bodybuilding, because then he might be Leon Edwards 2.0. I show Speed needs to lift.
Can you still shuffle? Watch this. Watch Muhammad. Watch.
Yeah, Ali. Champ, watch the champ. I'm fat. Watch the feet, champ. Watch the feet, champ. I'm bad, champ.
Step into Wix Studio.
This guy has a very odd talent. He basically does the opposite of parkour and purposely falls in very interesting ways. And the reason he does this isn't actually for any movie set, he just said that he simply wants to be the best at falling. I'm not too sure why this is his goal, but I can definitely agree that he has some of the most graceful tumbles out there. This guy...
We take a bottle, becomes a glass.
Your wiener's the size of a Tic Tac.
Driving near cyclists or pedestrians? Follow the news.
Your wiener's the size of a Tic Tac.
That's why your breast smells so good.
Hey, come here. Your wiener's the size.
Driving near.
This dog will walk in super slow motion towards his owner, not letting them know when
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's the one.
Oh, thank baby.
To the ball.
Oh,
dirty.
Yo, what she just called me?
Oh, thank baby.
To the ball.
Oh,
dirty.
Yo, what she just called me?
Oh, thank
This is why you never want to mess with a wrestler, as this guy has the most dangerous strength you will ever see. But if you thought taking down a dummy was impressive, this is what he looks like only gently using his strength on a real person. Would you?
Boost your.
Okay, so I'm gonna add a little pressure now, sir. It's all right. It's perfectly natural.
That was you.
Yeah, I know, but it's still perfectly natural. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little.
You want the Chinese version? I'll give you that too. 我有金有带，我是冠军，我永远不放弃。Let the Rock tell you in Chinese.
Uh-oh. Chinese?
Ding bong ding dong, he's stone cold IE.
A B C D E F G gummy.
Mom versus now. Which celebrity shares a birthday with you?
Where do you want it?
No, I'll pay with dollars right now. Right now.
Hell yeah.
Hey, who ate my last powdered donut?
It wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
You can run, but you can't hide, big boy. Sign the contract.
Hello. They may call you Kid Dynamite. To mess with me, I'll put your fuse out. Sign the contract, big boy. Sign the contract. How you so steady with it? They say.
Just hit a button, Morty.
This guy's pup is a retired police dog.
Touch the trash can, you lose. This is a school competition for a free pizza, and this guy in blue has every intention of eating that pizza tonight as he flips over the trash can every time he is about to touch it. Do you think he won it? Touch the trash can, you lose.
We're gonna play tennis, but instead of using rackets, we're using dumbbells. Match points. We're gonna play tennis, but instead of using rackets, we're using dumbbells.
Yeah.
Match points. We're gonna play tennis, but instead of using rackets, we're using dumbbells. Match points. We're gonna play tennis, but instead of using rackets, we're using dumbbells. Match points.
Experience real modern warfare in the free online action game War Thunder, featuring tanks, aircraft, helicopters, and ships all taking part in realistic battles. Use advanced technology. Tanks such as the Merkava, Abrams, Leopard, and even the T-80 aircraft from MiG-29s to K-4s, as well as the Ka-52 and Apache attack helicopters. And that's not even scratching the surface. You can also control attack drones and use nuclear weapons. Battle across scorching deserts and dense urban areas. Download War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Experience real modern warfare in the free online action.
This is the craziest school ever, because this is how students practice to become professional stunt actors. While it looks extremely fun, it also looks pretty dangerous. Doing stunts like this takes a lot of practice and dedication.
Who made this chicken? Who made it?
Why?
Because I love it!
Prank calling Mr. Beast.
The hell do you want?
Hey, Mr. Beast.
Yeah?
You should change your name to Mr. Breast.
I'm gonna hang up.
Then die. Prank calling.
This wall began to tip over, threatening to fall onto the kids during their karate class. But luckily, the coach in the back had lightning-quick reflexes.
Look at.
This wall began to tip over.
It's Shopify.
If you were pulled...
Chat, what game should I play? Hold up. Hold up, I need to see my life count. See life count. Okay. Guys, my life count's right here. Guys, 6 more subs. 6 more subs. 6 more subs. Never mind, it's so glitchy. Hold up, I'm about to share my. It's better. Okay. Oh, let me see.
This game,
Oh,
you're
this
not
looks
ready.
cool. Interesting. Yeah, I'll pick whatever. Yep.
Do you know what the top Google search result for Geometry Dash is? Maybe it's the game's Steam page?
Wow, this video turned out great! An exposal of a fake Geometry Dash website and how it's stealing popular Scratch projects. It's a good thing I never have to think about this ever again.
It all makes sense.
Craig, is that
No. It's in the bathroom. No more my phones.
you?
Okay.
No one's heard from you in weeks. Ever since you started rambling about that fake Geometry Dash.
What do you know about to remake as many real multiple spin
Are you having trouble trying to keep up with your professor? You've got to try Otter. Here's how it works.
off games? A game that would build their own RobTop levels and a game that would steal levels that never existed to begin with. But most importantly, a game that would absolutely break me as a human being. This is the story of Geometry Light. From, as well as a shuffle button, which I made, by the way, for my icon kit. This game goes up to Electrodynamics, but all signs point to it being a completely different project by a different developer entirely. I didn't provide much useful information, and now he's completely ghosting me. You can't deny that this game lays a pretty good foundation, so it ended up branching out into a lot of spin-offs, like Meltdown, which turned out decent, but obviously has its flaws. Sub-Zero only has press start, and it's actually some weird extended version of the level. The ending is weirdly difficult. And it uses Geometrical Dominator. You had one job. There's also a Bloodbath spin-off for some reason, but this transition is impossible because every portal resets you to normal gravity. But I data mined the game, and yes, it is the entire level. It's faithful, but there's definitely some mistakes, like using the X object here, leaving out some creator logos, and filling in all the blank spaces with this object.
Who's the other viewer watching?
Geometry Dash
No,
Scratch
Alex,
is probably the weirdest of the
about
bunch,
the other
because
viewer?
it's the exact same as
Other viewer,
Meltdown,
who
but
are
they
you?
just changed the logo. I really could not explain the
in the
logic
chat.
behind this one. Finally, they did Geometry Dash Breeze, which is actually a fan game by the creator Andrexel. He makes really rough styled levels, and you can play them all from his account. My favorite is Into the Zone. It plays so nicely. But yeah, for some reason they made the first 3 levels a breeze. I don't know if that's an honor or kind of concerning. Once again, it's not great, and the spider is pretty silly. This game will show up again later, but for now, we can finally head back to geometrydash.io, which is where this story really begins. And let me just explain how this video is going to work. We're going to go over his website, everything they've done since my last video, Sub-Zero, but it was just this random game. Then they changed it to the Scratch one a few days later. Following that, they would go on to add Scratch versions of Dryout all the way up to... They also added Lebon. Back on the 8th of August, this is version 1.0, and the developer is GeometryLight.io, which the More Games button also takes you to. It's yet another one of those fake GD sites, but back when this was released, this was the only game available on it. Once you press play, following a painfully slow transition, you're met with every level up until Jumper. Give one of them a try, and... yeah, so this is the most perfect recreation of Geometry Dash that I've ever seen. It looks almost identical to the real thing, and the physics are more accurate than any other clone I've ever played. Even the ship controls surprisingly nicely. My only real nitpick is that, like with most copies, there's 0 orb buffering. Also, the levels are literally one-to-one. Every tiny detail is placed correctly, and I have a suspicion that these were somehow ported over directly from the real game, which is definitely possible because I've done it many times. Now, is this game perfect? No, obviously not. Many transitions take forever, respawning in practice resets your velocity, the pulsing rods sometimes have hearts, Dryout is one word, and overall things just still feel kind of off. But whoever made this game still cooked really hard, and I respect them for it. I just wish it wasn't made solely as a cash grab for scam websites, but it's only version 1.0. So what's this game gonna do next? Well, 1 week they released version 0.38. Yes, it went backwards. As far as I can tell, the only difference in this version is that Jumper is now rated Demon, but everything else is the same. Over the next few months, they continue to update the game in 2023. To no one's surprise, Geometry World just copies the exact same menu and engine as Geometry Light, and disappointingly, it's only the first 3 levels of the game. You know, the ones that don't have any move triggers, but they did get color channels working as well as the animated objects, so props to them. 1 month later, just after Christmas, they would go on to add level 4, Years. And yeah, they got stuff moving. It was bound to happen eventually. Geometry Sub-Zero, on the other hand, was a lot more interesting, because when this game came out, there was no menu, pausing, or even practice mode. It just thrusts you right into press start, and there's no way to leave. You're also now rocking the default icon set, except for the ball, which is this for some reason. And we get our first look at the robot. Spoilers, it doesn't control that great. But who am I to talk when they literally made press start? The effects, camera triggers, reversing, and everything in between. Though it is the old version from before the coins were reworked, and unlike Geometry Light, it was definitely made by hand rather than being ripped from the actual game. 1 month later, after the GD World update, they got around to adding a proper menu for the game, but it was very apparent that this was a brand new menu made from the ground up. The buttons are in slightly different places, and the only icons in the background are the default ones, except once again, the ball. Over in the pause menu, they fixed the progress bar typo, and despite what the button says, checkpoints were green again. For some reason, the level was called Press Start Full, even though it's just the normal version. But you can't really argue with 34 million views. Unlike Light and World, there's also a coming soon screen. Oh, and did I mention they added Knock'em? Not really much to say here, it's Knock'em. This level gives us our first look at the wave, and it does not control well. Which is weird, because how do you mess up the wave? We also get to try out the spider, which works, but looks kinda stupid. And on the main menu, it jumps for some reason. By the way, you know how Knock'em used to have really terrible coins? Well, somehow they made them even worse. The first coin is missing its little sparkle, so there's even less indication of it. The second coin's key is missing, so you just get it for free. And the last coin just doesn't exist. Finally, another month later, in late January, they added Power Trip. Once again, it's exactly what you'd expect, but they removed the smiley face in the wave part. And not only is this message not randomized anymore, but it just turns green on its own. Normally you have to click for that. Also, the second message does it too. To nobody's surprise, you get the last coin for free. They actually patched the spider exploit in this level, which technically puts them one step ahead of RobTop, but it's also iconic to the level. They finally got around to releasing Meltdown, but they kind of phoned it in, seeing that it's just one level, and they never added more. Key at the start, but luckily they pushed an emergency update one day later that re-adds it. So it would be rude to say that they didn't care. Otherwise, this is just 7 Cs with nothing interesting about it. They went back to using the menu and icons from Geometry Light, so I'm not really sure why Sub-Zero didn't. And there you have it, the complete Geometry Light series.
Okay.
They never got around to updating the base game past X-Step, and basic features like the icon kit never happened either. So now that I've more or less set the scene, this is where the story actually begins. Remember how I said that there was another Scratch Geometry Dash game that wasn't a remix of the one by Griffpatch? This one, Spooky Dash by Chipmunk. It came out on October 27th, 2023, and it showed up on geometrydash.io 3 days later in time for Halloween. It's actually a really impressive game. It only has...
The button is back.
Can't ignore it. Too much swag.
The button makes the enemy vanish. Press it.
Wait. Press from the other side of the screen.
We'll wait. Did you see it? Did you? Almost press the button.
So what is ClickUp? ClickUp is an all-in-one productivity software where you can manage everything and anything related to your work. Your documents, your chats, your whiteboards, your projects. The value of this, you don't have to buy 5 softwares to do this. You don't have to be hopping back and forth between multiple tabs, trying to find that email from a year ago. Instead, you can find everything in a matter of seconds, keeping your work and everything related to productivity organized in a single place.
One level, Spooky Scary Skeletons, but it's completely original and the gameplay is great. It feels very RobTop styled, but like 1.0 RobTop styled. Nobody really makes this kind of gameplay anymore, so playing a level like this was a really great experience. On top of that, this game comes with an icon kit and even a whole level editor which has formed a very passionate community. I'll leave a link to the Scratch project in the description in case you want to try it for yourself. Again, the level is unironically great, and the reason I bring this up is because a little while later, in the middle of December, my bot notified me that they stole the game a second time, but this time under the name Geometry Spooky Dash instead of just Spooky Dash. So then what happened to the first one? Okay, it's a different game, I guess, but what did they change it to? No, they didn't. I refuse to believe it. It really isn't there. Yet, they stole it anyways. These guys have no chill. But it's not just the level they stole. Yes, it's running on the same Geometry Light physics as all the other games, but they redid all of the menus to match the Scratch project, even going as far as to use the same sound effects. They even copied the Choose Your Spook screen, making this the first Geometry Light game where you can choose an icon. And I'm sure you won't be surprised to hear that there's no credit anywhere in this game. It's blatant thievery. Aside from the obvious, I think one of the funniest parts of their Spooky Dash copy is that it came out in December. So if this was supposed to be a Halloween game, they completely missed the bus. But you know what they were just in time for? Yup, they made a Christmas Dash. Just like the last game, it has a Scratch-themed menu and only one level. It's also 1.0 styled with a few festive decorations, and again, it plays pretty nicely. However, unlike last time, the music is just a generic Christmas stock song and there's no sync at all. But hold on, there's no Christmas Dash on Scratch. So who are they stealing from? Yes. It turns out, and I'm not making this up, they just took a bunch of parts from Spooky Dash and rearranged the order they appear in. Don't get me wrong, this is a different level, but it's made with individual parts of scary skeletons. And if you think that's weird, then they sprinkle in some Poltergeist followed by the ship part and Back on Track. They put so much effort into making this level unoriginal, it's almost impressive. The final product is this weird, unholy fusion of levels with zero sync. The first coin is given for free, the second one comes from Spooky Dash, and the third one is Back on Track. Nothing about this makes sense, and that's exactly why I was so fascinated by it. But the laziness doesn't end there. Remember all the decorations from Spooky Dash, like these fences? All they did was retexture them a little bit. The floating candles are now various things, the grass is now Christmas trees, and the cobwebs are now snow cobwebs. Yeah, they didn't even try. Also, the icons you can choose are mostly Santa heads, but more importantly, what the f*** is a ZAS? Final verdict, this game is a disaster, and yet I kind of love it for that. Whoever made Geometry Light cares so much about making the game as accurate as possible to real Geometry Dash, but also cares so little about everything else. And that's basically the bootleg game industry in a nutshell. Great, so this brings us up to 6 Geometry Light games, all running the same code and released in the span of about 5 months. People are playing them, the comments from children are rolling in, and things are going great. So what's their next move? Surely it's something predictable and easy that won't make me lose my mind and lead to this video being way longer than it has any reason to... No, please. So yeah, they also made Geometry Dash Breeze. I played it and it was close, but not great. But something felt off. The physics were different. So I quit back to the menu, and that's when I realized, wait, this isn't Geometry Light. This is that other Unity remake from before, with the icon kit and the progress bar. So then why the hell is there now a message crediting Geometry Light for this? I thought they were like a competitor or something. So immediately, I came up with 2 theories. Number 1, they're made by the same developer. But this makes no sense because there's nothing reused between them. The only real crossover is this message they added. But even that only appears on this version of the game. The original Breeze website doesn't have it. Not to mention, this version of Breeze was being developed while Geometry Light was. I asked the supposed...
Eve to me is basically freedom. It's a giant open universe where you can do whatever you want. You can have really relaxed, slow-paced stuff where you can take it easy. Or you could be on the edge of your seat, shaking, making split-second decisions. This is Eve. You know, it's a crazy universe where anything can happen, and however you want to do it, go for it. I would describe myself as a kind of a freedom fighter. My very first character was a Minotaur character because they just seemed like the coolest, you know, most brutal people. And I was like, I want to be that guy. I started out doing the missions and high sec, and I want to be on the side of the
developer if he made both games. But again, no replies anymore. He's probably onto me. Theory number 2, the 2 of them joined forces. Alongside Breeze, they also launched a credited version of the original game that goes all the way up to Electrodynamics. But again, even though this version with the info box exists, it's not used on all the websites that this game was originally made for. Regardless, maybe the Geometry Light people didn't want to build all these extra levels, so they just bought the game off them. But it's just these 2, there's no watermarked version of Meltdown or Bloodbath. Okay, so 8 Geometry Light games, 2 of which are technically not theirs. Now is probably a good time to address the credited website, geometrylight.io, because if we head over there, you can see that not only are these games listed there, but they're also the only games listed there. Unlike every fake GD website with random other stuff like Scratch Games and Skibbity Toilet, this one exclusively holds the games that they've been making. Strangely enough, Xmas Dash is credited to Free Games Online, which was just a random other game website, but now it redirects to this one called One Games. Surely this won't show up again later, right? Alright, before we continue, let's just take a quick breather. I know this has been a lot of useless information, but hopefully you're doing okay so far. If you need some time to pause and take a break, let it all sink in, now would be a good time to do so. And while you're at it, maybe consider subscribing if you found this interesting so far. I don't upload that often, and when I do, it's usually more crazy stuff like this, so at the very least keep it in the back of your head. At this point, you're fully up to date with the Geometry Light family up until January of 2024. All these games are chilling on geometry-io, raking in views, and the main one is still front and center on the website. There's a disclaimer that it's a fan-made game and all that fun stuff. And while I wish it was that simple, this is the part where I reveal that I've been keeping a secret. because back in early November, like before they made Geometry World or Sub-Zero, my bot notified me of a new game called Geometry Light. And this was really weird because there already was a Geometry Light and it was still on the homepage like usual. So what was this one? Wait, what? It's the exact same thing, just with some kind of texture pack. But the original game was doing fine. It's not like they got copyright struck or anything. It's almost like this was a backup. As you can see, in this version, everything looks stupid. The levels are still unchanged, but many objects like portals, orbs, chains, and pulsing decorations are completely different. And while the default icon is the same, the ship and ball are now kind of goofy. They even tweaked the pause menu and changed the practice mode checkpoints to little ice cream shapes. But perhaps craziest of all, X-Step went from being rated insane to... Yeah, the difficulty faces in this version are crazy. We got Weird Spiral Chick, some sort of alligator, Maurice, Squiggly, and Kill It With Fire. On top of all that, there's still no icon kit for the game despite the real GD icons flying in the background. But there's definitely some problems, like sometimes the ship is totally messed up. So this game sort of just chilled in the depths of Geometry-Dash.io for a couple of months. It was totally overshadowed by actual Geometry Light, and most people didn't even realize it existed at all. But as usual, something was cooking behind the scenes. In early February, they launched Geometry Dash Old Version, a game to blast back to where rhythm-based game nostalgia collides with fresh challenges. Unsure what to expect, I checked it out and... No, please don't do this to me. So remember that really awful GD clone I showed at the start of the video? This menu song is the same one as that game's Bring Me Back Piano version by F777 in the same terribly low quality. Please ignore the fact that this has been my menu loop for months. I told you, this game has been eating away at my sanity. And what about the practice mode song? That would be Triple Fuse by F777, also super low quality, and the track used for the level Circulation in the other game. So what else is going on with this old version of the game? For starters, you might notice that all the disabled buttons were removed from the menu. Now it's just the volume settings, the play button, and a link to geometrylight.io. Heading over to the main levels, you'll see that... Oh! Yep, they all have different names now, from Polargeist being gravitational to Can't Let Go being Never Give Up. Most of the level names are close, but they're definitely not what the songs are actually called. And if any of these names sound familiar...
Tired of typing tons of notes during class? There's finally a better way. It's called Otter. Let's say I'm in class. I just hit record, and as you can see, everything I'm saying is turning into a transcript as I talk in real time. Because Otter is transcribing everything, I can actually listen to the professor rather than trying to type everything down, or I can zone out for a minute. I know that nothing is going to be missed, and I will be able to refer back to this transcript. If you're attending by Zoom, Otter will even capture any slides that were shared during the lecture. Imagine being able to refer back to perfect notes from all your classes for the whole semester. By the way, everything I'm showing you is free. Here's the best part. So after
that's because most of them are lifted, again, from that other game. In fact, out of the 10 levels available, 6 use the exact same name. This all led me to believe that these two games are in fact connected. In fact, even the icon was the same. It was a pretty strange conclusion to jump to at the time, but trust me, I would end up finding even more evidence. So this begs the question, what's the deal with that older game then? Why are they remaking Geometry Dash for the second time? Well, I believe that one was a prototype, testing out if they could get the basic physics working, and more importantly, if people would actually play the game. And once it took off, that's when they started work on Geometry Light. In the moment, this was like information overload, so I decided to relax and just play the game. Here, let's try Dryout, or Drought. Guys, I don't think this is Dryout. That's right, it turns out that all 10 levels had different names, songs, and most importantly, level design. Some of the levels have similar gameplay, but they're very clearly not the ones that RobTop made. At least partially, because each level only has different gameplay for the first 20% or so. After that, it's back to normal like nothing ever happened. I don't know about you, but I So, Geometry Dash 2.2 has been out for about a month now, and most people have already familiarized themselves with the new official level, Dash. Overall, it's an awesome level, with with a great song, fun gameplay, and it shows off almost everything this 7-year update has to offer. But think of it. You know, the guy who makes all those videos about reviewing Geometry Dash levels, where I do all sorts of fun stuff like complain a bit more, and pitch stupid ideas for the game that will never end up. Oh wait, you actually can see locked stuff in the icon kit now. Yeah, if you've watched my videos from the past year or two, it's pretty clear that I complain a lot over things that really don't matter. And I know some people like that, but I can't help but feel guilty about it. Because at the end of the day, I love...
There are lots of AI writing apps out there. So why would you use Grammarly?
Have you ever dreamed of being the #1 greatest Geometry Dash player ever? Don't lie to yourself. Everyone has. Everyone wants all the success and praise for being the best. And today, we'll go over the story of the kid who took this dream and made it a reality. Zoink's career started off well with him knocking out the level Bloodbath, one of Geometry Dash's most iconic extreme demons, known for its tough ship gameplay. Now, this would have been an impressive feat in 2015, but by this time, hundreds of harder levels have been created to the point that this map was pushed aside. If he wanted any chance of being #1, he needed to start working his way up the demon list, a chart that ranks the hardest maps in the game and gives players a score based on how many levels they've beaten. Now, when most normal players try to improve their GD skills, they tend to gradually work their way up to harder levels, improving their ability with ladder steps, one tough map at a time. But this method takes a lot of patience, as it often takes months or even years, and that could very well mean an eternity to an ambitious teenager like Zoink who wants success now. He wasn't any old normal player, so what did he do? He ditched the stupid ladder and jumped right to the top, to Zodiac. This map was no joke. Spanning an entire 3 minutes in length, it was a tough endurance test that called for the top skill in the game, which is why Zoink struggled so much with it. Bloodbath to Zodiac was an absolutely crazy jump, though not something entirely unheard of. The player Space UK popularized jumping when he went from an insane demon to a top 20, and he went on to keep grinding and becoming a legend in the community. Maybe if Zoink followed in his footsteps, he could achieve the same thing too. Why feats, along with this massive lift, instead turn his attention to other demons. With the Zodiac skill boost, he'd continue fighting through other levels. Tartarus, the Golden, Sonic Wave Infinity was pouring hours upon hours into grinding out these demons and making fast progress because of it. And thanks to a shiny new keyboard he got, his skill would only increase. Why on earth would he use that, you might ask? Well, playing with the up arrow over a mouse may seem a bit goofy because, I mean, have you tried it? It feels so awkward, but top-end keyboards like the Corsair K70 Zoink got allow for near zero input delay, which is crucial when you're tackling levels on the demon list. And his crazy grind would show everybody just how powerful the keyboard is over the mouse.
I beat Hard Machine! I beat Hard Machine! I beat Hard Machine! I beat Hard Machine!
Now, with more and more pros playing through the 2 levels on the top, they realized that Slaughterhouse was actually much harder than Succubin Circles, and it was shifted back to the #1 spot where it belonged. This gave Zoink the bright neon green light to go in for the kill on Slaughterhouse and claim his top level. The grind was long and tough, with a crushing fail at 91%. He was so close, and he'd finally make the kill in April.
Yes! 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 Yes!
He was only 14, by the way. People don't realize just how young their favorite Geometry Dash players really are. You need to have a crazy amount of free time to pour into competitive play, so it makes sense why the game is dominated by teenagers in school, and only someone so young would do something as stupid as playing this fucking game. Like, how do you even enjoy this? With the #1 level under his belt, Zoink would continue fighting down the list, knocking out top 10 after top 10, with incredibly low attempt counts each time. After struggling hard with levels like Zodiac in the beginning, he was truly getting into the groove with top demon list levels, and in 2022, we'd really see him shine.
What? It's over. It's over. We are finished. I beat Hard Machine. I beat Hard Machine.
I said it.
Let's go. Okay.
He cleared Arcturus on May 18th, rounding off the top 10. Man, what a flex is it for someone to ask you what your hardest completions are, and you just point at the demon list like he was that good. But despite his incredible skill, he was still criminally underrated. This is a problem in the Geometry Dash community. Talented demon list grinders go completely unnoticed as all the attention flows to the #1 player or popular YouTubers and streamers. This shouldn't come to much of a surprise. I mean, take any sport, so let's say sprinting. You all know who the fastest man in the world is, right? Usain Bolt. Maybe you even know who the second fastest guy is, but I guarantee you don't know the third. I didn't either. I had to search him up. Zoink was on his way up, but if he wanted to make a name for himself in the Geometry Dash world, he needed to do something big and fast. But how? Well, just look at the legends of the past. Riots with the Bloodbath, Sonics with Sonic Wave, even Space UK with Slaughterhouse. They did a lot of amazing stuff in their time, but the reason they've been cemented in GD history is because they managed to push the limits of the game. They didn't simply beat the hardest level, they made it. They're the ones who took the step further when no one else would. What I'm getting at is that Zoink beating Slaughterhouse was certainly cool, but he was a third person to do it. But now, if he was the first to be at a level harder than it, that would be a surefire way to make himself known. And as luck would have it, there were 2 levels harder than Slaughterhouse just waiting for someone to beat: Silent Clubstep and Acheron. One was an ancient level created way back when by the player Salient. It was stupidly hard because of its offbeat gameplay, with one section literally being dubbed the 8 jumps of hell due to how precise the clicks are. The other level was Acheron. Its creators set out to make the most excruciating map imaginable, and they certainly succeeded. It doesn't hold back. There are no breaks at all, and the dark theme only adds to its scariness. It was originally set to be verified by the player Wolves, but after he got a crushing 96% fail, he decided to drop it, leaving the map open to anyone to beat. Any normal person would see this level and sprint the other way, but Zoink wasn't normal. He'd pick this map and run right into it.
Enlisted is the free brand new online World War II shooter. Command a squad of soldiers and participate in legendary battles of...
We'll get into Acheron after a brief message from today's sponsor, Warthog, and you can pick up. No. Plain old Acheron wasn't enough for this ambitious teenager, so he buffed it to the point that it wasn't just harder than Slaughterhouse, but a huge jump ahead of it. He'd continue to grind through his own version, and with a strong 82% run, followed by a 91 record, he'd take a firm lead over the competition. Everyone else began fighting for second place, as it seemed like Zoink's victory was inevitable. And June 9th, 2022 was supposed to be the day. Zoink was on a perfect run, clearing the hardest sections of the map, but then 96%. He was this close to verifying the hardest level in the game, but a choke at the end snatched that all away. Wolves got the exact same death Zoink did before he dropped it. A bit funny when you think about it, but this was no joke to Zoink. You may say, well, he was this close to beating the level. Why couldn't he just push through and get it done? And to that, I'd say that you underestimate the absolute mental torture that comes with playing an extreme demon, especially one like Acheron. I mean, when half of your attempts end like this, failing to clear this frame perfect jump, I think it's pretty damn easy to get demotivated. Casual Geometry Dashers simply don't see the thousands of hours your favorite players put into this agonizing game off camera. And for Zoink, getting so close to freeing himself and ending all the suffering, but having it snatched away because of a tiny misclick must have really sucked. After the crushing fail, Zoink would shift his focus away from Acheron. His lead in the race was pretty safe, but the other competitors smelled blood and continued pushing through the level, with their hope to become #1 regained. Even Space UK was moving into Acheron, though in Zoink's absence, it would be one Alpha Helix who'd get onto his tail. Most players would take a break from a level by getting away from GD and playing other video games, but Zoink took time off this extreme demon by beating other extreme demons. During the summer of 2022, he'd get to work filling up his demon list portfolio. He'd breeze through top levels and really pop off. The craziest thing was that he'd have such nonchalant reactions too. Like, it was so easy he was getting bored. His attempt counts were tiny too. Like, what the heck? I probably have more attempts on Deadlocked. But look at Zoink here, just flying through all these maps. Take Prometheon, for example. It took the verifier a month and well over 100,000 attempts to clear it. But Zoink ran through the level in just a few days and only 5,000 attempts. Such a big difference begs the